Welcome again, ladies. We've got healthy hormones for all female phases. So our focus is going to just go through really 3 stages of life for us as ladies so that we can help ourselves, help our children, grandchildren, friends, neighbors, and all the different phases that we go through as ladies. So our main focus with doing these workshops are to share truths, right? So, because what happens when we know truth? The truth sets us free. It really does. We are able to feel empowered and we're able to feel like we've got knowledge and understanding of what to do to help ourselves. And then when we need to work with a certain health partner, and then what to discuss with that health partner, and to have certain tools at your fingertips. That is what we're trying to make sure that you have so that you can experience that freedom and healing. So, what we're going to do, we're going to dive right in to hormones here. But I'm going to try to make it a little more friendly, right? Okay. So we're going to say we're working with pumpkins here. Okay. So hormone production, we're going to just say we've got some pumpkins to start us off. And what the pumpkins represent are cholesterol, actually. So cholesterol is the base for all of our different hormones, especially when it comes to reproductive and stress hormones. So we've got the first break off of what becomes our hormones after cholesterol is progesterone. So that's here, our little pumpkin, right? Then after that, oh, let me see if I can get away from okay, there we go. All right. From the pumpkin, we have a few things we can make, right? We have a few options. We can make pumpkin pie or pumpkin soup. We have so many other things we can make with pumpkins, I'm sure, but we're going to keep it simple, right? So pumpkin pie, this is going to represent our stress hormones. And then pumpkin soup is going to represent our reproductive hormones. So the stress hormones would be things like cortisol, adrenaline, those sorts of things. And then the reproductive hormones are going to be estradiol. It's basically all our different estrogens. Okay. So let me actually show you what this really looks like compared to my pumpkin representation here. So, actually, before we do that, is we have let's say we have so much pumpkin to go around, right? When we are producing our cortisol and our estradiol, let's say we're having hormone imbalance. What the reason for this is because we are probably more stressed. And therefore, what it's doing is all of our pumpkins is going towards making pumpkin pie. We don't have enough pumpkins to make our pumpkin soup, which is really what we need.
Wait.
Yeah, voice.
That. Uh-oh.
Okay, it says, okay, we just went on my husband's AirPods. So can you hear me?
Now we
Yes.
can.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you. I think
Yes, I can hear you.
perfect. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it wanted to go connect to my husband's AirPods as opposed to letting you hear. Sorry about that. Okay, so like I said, if we have only so many pumpkins, we don't have enough to make our pumpkin soup because if we're feeling stressed all the time, our body is going to prioritize our survival over making a baby, right? Like making a baby is definitely on the back burner compared to running away from a tiger. So that's the way that God made our bodies to work. So that's why we end up having estrogen lack of production because it's so focused on making enough to help us be up and going and running when we're feeling super stressed. So let me kind of show you what this looks like in the actual chemical constituents here. We're not going to go deep into
You
not have your okay. It keeps I think it keeps wanting to go to his AirPods. Are we good?
Yeah. Yes.
We can okay, awesome.
We're
All right.
good.
So as you can see here, okay, it's good now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. All right, so what we've got is you see that blue chemical at the beginning, right? It says cholesterol. Then
Mhm.
from the first configuration that it branches off into is progesterone. And from progesterone, it starts to branch off into making all of our different other hormones. So this is the more chemical configuration compared to my pumpkins, right? But I like to speak metaphorically so we can actually make sense of it all. So we've got our progesterone can make things like testosterone, cortisol, and aldosterone. And then from the testosterone, that's actually where our estrogens come from. So this just helps us to see that everything comes back to cholesterol. Is that surprising to anyone?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's told that cholesterol is the bad guy all the time, right? It's
Mm.
not always the bad guy. So sure, we don't want to have levels that are off the charts, but to have a little bit extra might actually serve you just fine, especially if we're having hormonal imbalances, because then you have extra um, supply to make these other hormones. So we're going to go into that in this next picture here. Any questions on this page? Pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to focus on how do we regain that hormone balance. So we're going back to our pumpkin example here, right? Our goal is to have more estrogen, estradiol here. We are not having enough pumpkins to make our pumpkin soup. So what are some options that we've got? We have a few things that we can do. One, we can reduce our stress levels. So if we reduce our stress levels, we don't have to have that fight or flight all the time. And so our body doesn't have to keep making all the hormones be stress hormones. Now it's like, okay, we can now start to have enough to spread to make reproductive hormones. So we don't have to make pumpkin pie only. We can now make some pumpkin soup, right? So that's one option. Easier said than done, right? Especially for us Floridians. we have stress just getting out on the streets sometimes, like driving around. So what's another option? We can make more pumpkins, right? That's an option. So the way that we can do that is by actually having more healthy fats in our diet. If we have more healthy fats present, that gives us a great foundation to make healthy cholesterol, to therefore make progesterone, which will make our pumpkin pie pumpkin soup. Does that make sense to you guys?
That's. Mm-hmm.
So from here, what we'll do is now you'll see, okay, now we have enough to go around. If we've reduced our stress levels, great. And if we've increased our healthy fats, that's going to really serve us. Those two together are going to be very, very helpful for our hormone balance. So we'll go into a few different tips here on how to do that. So this is here, ways to create balance for all ladies. Again, all stages. So right now, we're not going to break it off into young and then middle age and then more of our mature seasons. This is for all like from teenagers all the way up to if we're 120, right? Like if we're Noah's wife. So, but we'll branch off into those specifics in just a little bit, those specific phases. So every lady, every young lady, we can do these basically two things. We can eat fresh. So eat, if we can eat seasonally fresh, that would be optimal. But if it's at least healthy, like foods that are in this form, right? Like that aren't in preservatives or it's not like a processed food, that will help us tremendously. That's just for more of our vitamins and our enzymes and those sorts of things. But the biggest thing for when it comes to hormones is this next part. It's that healthy fats section. So if we've got things like our avocados, or like I'm just kind of imagining that this milk here and this latte, it looks is like a coconut milk. So coconut, I'm going to give you a wonderful acronym to have for healthy fats. It's actually bacon. I'm not saying, just load up on bacon, but we're going to use it for our acronym. The B stands for butter. If you are not really a butter fan, if you're more vegan, then you can do something like one of the other ones here, but another alternative might be something like ghee. Ghee, it's Ghee. So then from there, next would be A is for avocado, which we've got here in that picture. So it's nice and easy to remember. C is for coconut and in all of its forms. So like I said here, it might be coconut milk. We could do coconut shreds. We can put that like on an oatmeal, or coconut oil. If we're cooking with coconut oil or even the avocado oil. So those are all really great. Next, the O is for olives. So again, another wonderful form of cooking oil, olive oil, or just eating olives. We just had like a little cauliflower pizza because we had like to really go quickly tonight after work. And we put some olives on that, and just so that we've got more healthy fats, and we put some fresh avocado on it. And again, just to increase the healthy fats on it. So that's O is for olives. And the last is N for nuts and seeds. So nuts, nut butters, that's a really wonderful pairing with some of these fresh things. So let's say we've got an apple or a banana, and then we pair it with a nut butter. Now you've got something that's sweet and savory, and we don't have to go for the ice cream. We've got something wonderfully healthy, wonderfully filling, and it's going to do a lot of good for our hormones and our just overall health, immunity. So that's bacon. Do I need to repeat any of the letters BACON, or did everyone get that?
Got it.
Got it.
Thank you. Awesome. I love the feedback. Okay. And then I just put here food beyond diet. So our focus is not dieting. Our focus is on eating healthy, eating, if we can, whole foods. We don't have to shop at Whole Foods to eat whole foods. A whole food is what you see here. We don't see anything processed. This is in its actual whole food form. So that's what we're really going to hone in on. Our nutrition does not have to be rocket science. It could be literally this simple, just like those three things. So, all right, what we'll do from here, again, this is for ladies of all phases. Let's go back to our picture. So we were talking about how lipids or fats are the precursor for our cholesterol, and that therefore helps make our hormones. So doTERRA specifically has a wonderful omega vitamin. They actually have two. If you're vegan, it would be VE omega, and that has like pomegranate seed, flaxseed, these sorts of things, as opposed to fish oils. I do really love the fish oil personally, but if we do have really off the charts kind of cholesterol, then the V omega would actually probably better serve you. But if yours is like in range or just maybe just a little bit above, then that's going to be great. You can still use the fish oil version. The parts that also set this apart from other fish oils on the market is that it has essential oils in it too. So that helps naturally preserve the fish oil so you don't have any rancidity issues. But also it has things like frankincense in there, which we know a lot about fish oils being great for our brain, but now we pair it with frankincense and we've just got, we're going to keep away any sort of dementia types of things. I'm not going to, like, I can't say that for sure, but we can at least really curb it and help preserve it too for our memory. But again, this is going to be especially helpful when it comes to our hormones. Okay. So that's for the fish oils. That's something that we can do if we're doing our bacon, but we want a little bit extra support for our cholesterol levels so that we can make these hormones. Okay. So from here, now we're going to talk about some support for all of our different female symptoms. So let's say if we're teenagers and we're just dealing with PMS, or even through our 20s and just kind of fertility ages, this is going to be great. We're going to go into some of the other ways that it can support, for other things we can use to support PMS types of symptoms, but it can help from that stage, and then even our fertility stage, and then our menopausal stage. It's just like the oil for us as women. I've been really impressed to see, okay, hey, for all of us ladies, we can just keep that in our pocket. So I can tell you that I was taking this and I was taking the fish oil that I just mentioned. It was actually part of the Lifelong Vitality Pack. And this time around when we just had our baby, the first time with our first son, it was several months of just like, man, we're not conceiving here. It just the fertility was not working for whatever reason. But when I paired this with the fish oil, my hormones were balanced. My body was able to be fertile immediately. It was just we were ready and we had a baby basically. It was wonderful to not have to go through that fear and frustration. So that's one part. And then for the menopausal side, I've seen several different patients who have been able to see, okay, I can feel more balanced, both on my mood as well as some of the hot flashes and things like that too. So let me go over what's in it. So if you have a packet, this is a time we can use it. If you don't, that's okay. I'm going to tell you about it and then I'll show you what we're going to do with it so that you can use it if you do end up getting the oil or have it on hand. So it has clary sage. That's the game changer when it comes to all hormone related, female hormone related symptoms. So that's the main one. And then it also has things like lavender, bergamot, which is like a orange, and then Roman chamomile, ylang ylang, geranium, cedarwood, fennel, and then actually carrot. So the main ones in here that are most important are the clary sage and the geranium. Those are actually even the lavender, I'd say would be third, in terms of really supporting our estrogen production, progesterone levels. And that's why we can feel so much better through all of these different phases of life, from young womanhood to mature womanhood. So that is really the main focus with this oil. And I'm going to show you where you could use it. So one is, of course, on the abdomen, because that's right over the ovaries. But another place, and the uterus, right, is to actually use it on the wrists. And we're going to do the inside and outside. So we can do this all together, even if you don't have the oil. I'm just going to show you with the oil. So we're going to go on the inside of the wrist. And if you go basically like 2 fingers width down from the crease of your wrist, so from that crease right there, you're going to go 2 finger widths down, and then you're going to land right there on that point right below. And you're going to do the opposite on this other side. So this is what we're going to do. We're actually going to do some acupressure. I'm going to show you, I would put my oil right there if I'm going to support my hormones extra, but this will be helpful even without the oil. These are some wonderful acupuncture points that I do basically with every woman, because I'm like, I'm going to just support your hormones when we're doing acupuncture. So what we're going to do is we're going to land on those 2 spots, right? It's 2 fingers width down, and you're coming on your wrist, inside and outside, right? And you're just going to put some gentle pressure. You can either go kind of in a circular motion or kind of like a little gentle pincher type of stimulation there. You can do that for about 30 seconds on one wrist. We're going to do that on the other wrist too. While we're doing it, I'm going to explain to you what we're doing. So on the inside of the wrist side, this is called pericardium 6. Let's go ahead and swap arms as we do that. So again, 2 fingers width down, and we're going to go right below and land there. And we're going to do the same thing on both sides of the wrist there. So on the inside, what we're doing is not only helping our hormones, but it can also help with any chest types of issues. So if we're having kind of like palpitations, even congestion there. Insomnia, really good for sleep. Nausea. So if you've seen like those things for like cruise ships and stuff, it's always like it's on this point. Or even morning sickness. I had morning sickness. And I had a little bracelet that just held on this point. And so that's really great and even helpful for carpal tunnel. So that's the inside of the wrist. Now the outside of the wrist, what it's doing, it's more for headaches and then just upper body types of pain, discomfort, and then balancing our temperature, because we can get our hot flashes and then we can have cold hands, cold feet. So it's just helping bring homeostasis to that swinging, or if we're running in one of those extremes. So any questions on the acupressure spots? You guys looked like you did great. You guys got where you needed to be. So good job there. Okay, so that is for just kind of the hormone balance from the omega side, and then the clary sage or clary calm and where you would place it. This is something you can do, the acupressure, to start and end your day. You can just do gentle 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Now I've supported my hormones, right? So that could be a great daily practice for yourself. Another thing would be to just help our moods, right? We deal with our mood swings, and we would love to feel more. So maybe I won't say everyone. I deal with mood swings at times, and I do really appreciate when I can feel like I'm not, going both ways all the time. So breathing, this is very helpful. I'm going to just show you a quick way to add a breathing technique. It's called the first aid stress tool. If you type in on Google first aid stress tool, or FAST, FAST, it will show you a little video. If you're like, I'm not really sure on how to do this exactly, or I want a reminder, that's something that you can resort to. But we'll do an abridged version of it. We're just going to do one wrist right now, but we would do 3 breaths on each wrist. So what you would do is, again, coming down from that wrist crease, right? So come down, and we're just going to go, let's see. We're going to do 3 fingers side by side from that wrist crease. Can you guys?
No. Check it. Mm. The voice just went out again?
Yeah, can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Are we good? You can hear
Yeah.
Yeah.
me again? Okay. Sorry. I don't know why it wants sadly to get on his headphones. But it's just doing that. Okay. So what we're going to do is, you're going to be here, and we're going to be breathing with our hands on, these are our acupuncture. Okay. Let me just make sure. If
Okay,
we're
no.
not muted, sorry, we might need to mute if we have background sound, because I already have some audio things going on, it seems. Okay, so from here, we're gonna put our hand across our forehead, and it's gonna look like this. We've got our hands still on that, and just across here, these are our emotion points, just across our forehead. Those are the emotion points in acupuncture. So we're gonna just kind of close the eyes and just take a nice deep breath. So 3 rounds, so nice deep breath in and out. Good. And in and out. And 1 more round and out. Perfect. And what we're doing when we're doing this is we're really creating space, because we tend to get congested with our thoughts when we're feeling really stressed. And what do we do when we're stressed? We're like, oh, I don't know what to do, right? We're always rubbing on those acupuncture points unknowingly. But what we're doing when we do it preventatively and daily is we're helping to release that tension that gets stuck there when we're feeling like, oh, super stressed and it's getting stuck there. So you would do that on both sides. And that's, again, you could pair that with your little acupressure with your wrists. Now you can do your breathing. And the idea is, when you're breathing in, it's just breathing in acceptance for whatever you're feeling, and then breathing out any tension or any judgment. If you're feeling some sort of judgment, like, oh, I'm feeling really angry, I'm going to just breathe in acceptance that I feel angry. Okay, I'm breathing out any tension or any judgment that I would maybe have towards having anger, or maybe towards that person that I'm angry with. So that's how we would use the first aid stress tool. So again, that I'm just going to kind of leave it like that in a nutshell, because we do have that wonderful resource online, and we have done a couple classes on it. So if you have other questions, we do have that on our stress class on the website as well. So next, for managing our moods, is we do have some support on the biochemistry side. So this is a line of options, so you can kind of see which one would best suit you. I really love the adaptive capsules in particular. The adaptive oil I use every now and then, but I use daily the adaptive capsules because why? I'm postpartum and I'm like, I don't want to go into postpartum depression or postpartum like any, swings because sleep isn't always as restful and everything. So let's go over what's in this. One thing is it has this neurotransmitter, GABA. A lot of people are just taking GABA by itself, which is great. But when you compare it with natural herbs and essential oils, now you have an even better opportunity to help maintain homeostasis and emotional steadiness. So it's paired with these other, like you see, fennel, wild orange, selenium, ahi flower. I can tell you that when I was not even like before I was pregnant, and I would notice that, oh, I'm getting like close to my period here because I would start having my mood swings. And if I hadn't been taking my adaptive for a period of time, I noticed, oh, I'm really seeing that irritability be very much more like present compared to when I would take adaptive. So, and then I also have a patient who she's a social worker, and she has found that working with all of the, really serious cases that she's dealing with on a daily basis, this just helps her to feel like, hey, I can kind of let it just roll off my shoulders. I feel for my people that I'm working with, but I don't have to take it on. And a lot of us as ladies, we love our people, and sometimes we can take on their stuff. And so it's just nice to feel like, all right, I've got a way to feel for them, but not feel them, feel exactly what they're feeling. So these are two wonderful alternatives of, maybe if we're not like needing a full-on antidepressant, but we're still needing something to support us. So those are, like I said, for all of us as ladies. Now we're going to get into specific seasons and stages of life. All right. So we're going to start with the more, teenage years when we're just starting to have more of our PMS stages. So this is, and we can have that even through, even our 40s, we can deal with PMS. When I talk about PMS, I'm just going to focus really on the cramps because we've already talked about hormone balance and we've talked about mood swings and ways to support that. So we're going to just say PMS and the cramps associated with that. So you can see here, I put a couple little dots along the side of her leg there. That's called the IT band. What I'm suggesting here is that we can actually do, again, kind of like an acupressure, but it's a little bit more vigorous. It's actually called tapping. So I'll show you. I'm going to just kind of stand up. So on the side of my leg, right here, right, we can be tapping along the side of our IT bands. And if we're doing that, that can really help with some of our cramping for either ourselves or for our loved ones that might be dealing with cramping. I would do it on both legs, kind of going down. Let's see if I can do, I can't really do that on the screen, but at the same time, I'd be going down the legs, right? Tapping along. And you can just do that for a good, 30 seconds, minute, to really help release some of that tension. You would think, oh, that doesn't, like, I would just want to massage my stomach or massage my back if that's where I'm getting my cramps. But this is actually a great way to also help support those acupuncture meridians associated with our ovaries and the pain and discomfort we're dealing with there. So, and again, if we're using that Clary Calm, we can do that on our abdomen and along those IT bands, along the sides of our legs there to be able to help with those cramps. Another thing we can do is wherever we are feeling that pain and discomfort, if we're like, I need something that's going to like have more of a release on the muscles and not just balance out my hormones, this will be really helpful because what do you see here? It's got wintergreen, lavender, peppermint. So if you just look at those three in particular, the winter and the frankincense, those are all really, well, I'd say wintergreen, peppermint, and frankincense. Those are anti-inflammatory and really great at helping with any muscle tension, spasms. So this oil here, it's called past tense. It's really great for cramps. Could be for, if we have any tension in our neck and shoulders or headaches. It can be for any sort of tension, but specifically right now we're talking about for cramps. So we could put that maybe on the back, even along those IT bands. If we're going to put it on the abdomen, if it starts to get a little bit tingly, you could add some coconut oil to just make it where it's not too strong, having the wintergreen and peppermint on a little bit more of a sensitive region. So that's the past tense there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and now talk about for more of our middle-aged symptoms. So this would be more like 20s, 30s, 40s, and before we're really hitting our menopause phase, okay? And I just wanted to focus on two main symptoms here. That would be fertility and fatigue. So I remember I had told you I was taking this whole lifelong vitality pack basically of vitamins. And then I was like, okay, we're ready. We're having our baby now. So this, in terms of fertility, the reason why it's so supportive is for two reasons. Well, actually a few reasons. Each of these bottles here are supportive for these different symptoms. But for here, you'll see the Microplex VMZ. It is helpful for fertility because it has all of our vitamins and minerals, but it's on a bioavailable form. So as opposed to it being like, okay, I've got my women's multivitamin, but it's in these macro molecules that my body can't break down. It's broken down in a way that it's in its food form within this type of capsule, the Microplex VMZ. So that's supportive for fertility, but also this Alpha CRS Plus, the one that you can see with kind of the little like goldish looking capsules. That is great at helping to detoxify our liver. A lot of times we're dealing with a congested liver when we have any hormonal types of dysfunction, but especially when it comes to fertility, that is a very important correlation there that research is finding that, okay, if we can detoxify the liver, we can increase our chances of being able to have more fertility there. Another thing is that, as you see underneath it saying Alpha CRS Plus, it says cellular vitality complex. What that is it's actually helping our cells to have more energy. So that's why it also helps with our fatigue, right? So if we're feeling like, okay, I'm hitting my lull at the end of the day, or like in the middle, like after lunch, or even like I have to have my coffee to wake up and get going, this might be a way to be able to get our bodies up and going more naturally. It's not like, okay, I'm revved up with energy. It's just more steady energy. What it has there to support are things like CoQ10 and I don't have all of it in front of me at the moment, but some of the herbs that are also helpful are things like milk thistle. So this is again really great for detoxifying our liver, and then turmeric. So it helps our body to be able to be less inflamed, less sluggish, and therefore more energized rather than fatigued. So those are some of the vitamins that really will help us at all stages of life. I just put it specifically for that middle age time frame, so we could kind of go over some of these topics of fatigue and fertility. But again, this is a good one for really all phases. So the last one is supporting our mature ladies. So this is when we're really dealing with menopause, is what I wanted to focus in on. Sure, we do have things after menopause as well, but I just wanted to kind of keep this nice and simple, where it didn't feel like we're inundated with all these different symptoms and things. So if we're talking about menopause, oftentimes we're dealing with things like hot flashes, right? So one way to cool down the heat is by taking something like peppermint. So we've seen different patients use it like on a little like a washcloth, and just like kind of a damp washcloth, and they'll spritz it a little bit and then they'll just put it across their neck so it just cools them off. Or you can just put a drop of peppermint on your hand and then just take a big whiff of it and then just put it on directly onto your own neck, maybe on your shoulders, and that will help bring your body temperature down. You could also put it on the bottoms of your feet, and that will be pulled right into your blood circulation, and that can also have a nice cooling effect. I find, but especially just kind of the upper body is where we tend to experience that rise of heat. And we're like, too much, right? So this is a great way to help cooling ourselves. And again, this could be even just because we're in Florida and it's the summer and we aren't even necessarily dealing with hot flashes. We just want to cool off. So that is the peppermint there. So let me just kind of give you a quick recap. The ones that are going to help for all stages of life for us as ladies, whenever we've started puberty on up to, you know, our last days, would be these center three. So that's the Clary Calm, the Lifelong Vitality, and the Adaptive. And you can choose if you want adaptive capsule, adaptive oil. And then if we're dealing with any sort of cramps, we might want to do something like past tense, or if we're more on our more mature phase of life, then we might want to use something more like peppermint for cooling our bodies. So those are really the types of tools that we would love to have you to be able to be empowered with, or to just know, hey, I've got natural ways to take care of myself. I don't have to depend on hormone replacement or, you know, the different creams, or even Midol, or, you know, all the different ways of synthetically helping ourselves. We have natural options. Again, we want to help have truths to set us free.